All right, so 2024 started with a lot of drama, and currently this video is recorded in March 2024. In the past 2 months, we have had like so many different issues, basically. Hyperinflation, the the power supply have been worse. The Naira dollar and exchange rates have been throwing punches at each other. Price of everything have gone not even double right now, but skyrocketed. Food, gadgets, appliances, real estate, materials, everything basically. And it's quite important for a lot of investors, particularly people not based in Nigeria, to now look at it that man, what is really happening? What is happening in Nigeria right now? Because a couple of you guys might not know yet, but the inflation that is happening in Nigeria right now is affecting everybody, including you that you are earning in dollars or you are earning in pounds. So that at times when I say this, a lot of you guys ignore it and you like, Rabiu, like, are you serious? You didn't even know what you are saying. I have contacts, I have people that earn in dollars, that earn in pounds, that earn in euros, that are doing projects in Nigeria. The entire hyperinflation affects them, despite the fact that the exchange rate have gone from this to that. Alright, so but before we start talking about all the drama, we don't look at the Nigerian economy and investors' perspective and look at it, that what is really happening, because it's only when you understand what is happening that you can understand how to invest and position in this kind of economy, in this kind of situation. So we start looking at the problem from the source, the exchange rates, the fuel subsidy, importation, the rise of importation, and how these importation habits have affected our economy down the years, down till now. Currently, the exchange rate have been floated, how these have been affecting us so far. These are everything that we are really going to be looking at in this episode. So in case you are coming across a video like this for the first time, this is Meet the Public Capital Channel. This is discuss everything real estate, first time investors, avid investors. You learn everything here about real estate companies, which companies should you invest in. If you want to invest with a company, what are the things that you should ask? What are the things you should look out for? When you buy a property, what are the documents that you need? After you buy a property, what are the documents that you need? Everything, you learn it here. So let's go straight into talking about the Nigerian economy, because there are so many things for us to discuss about. So before we start or go on, let me do another mini advert. If you're not subscribed to our videos, kindly do subscribe to our videos. We want you to subscribe to our videos. It's very, very important you be part of our subscribers, because that's one of the ways that you can motivate us to do videos like this. This video took me 14 days preparation. I prepared 2 weeks for this video, basically, because I had to make my research, make my findings, know what is going on. And that's what I've realized about we as Nigerians, we as people, we don't really ask a lot of whys. If there is demolition, why are they demolition? If the dollar is going to so-so rates, why is it going to so-so rates? If pounds is going to so-so rates, why is it going to so-so rates? If price of houses is going to so-so amount, why? So let's learn to ask why. And it's going to amuse you that whatever that is happening in the world globally, just go to Google and add why in front of it. Why is Naira falling? Why is fuel at this rate? Why is diesel at this rate? Why is Nigeria inflation at this rate? So you get a lot of questions and a lot of answers, really. And that's the best way for you to make a research, to be honest. All right, so like I said before, the Nigerian economy situation, we are going to look at the source, because I always get this from a lot of our clients that this economy, the exchange rate was like, the exchange rate is not like this before. The situation got worse from from so year, from so people, and it's now like just bring out that curiosity in me that if the exchange rate is not this bad before, what was happening then that is not happening right now? If 1 naira was $1 before, why was 1 naira $1 before? If 1 naira is maybe 1,600 naira now, why is 1 naira 1,600 now? All right, so this asking why made me go online and made some research that if our currency was stronger before, at 1 naira to a dollar, at 20 naira to a dollar, at 100 naira to a dollar, what was happening then? And if our currency is now very weak right now, at maybe 1,600 or 1,400 or 1,500 to a dollar, what is happening right now? Because understanding all these, the reason, the cause and effects, will help me as an investor, because I invest, to invest, and to also help and guide me to know that, okay, these are the type of investment I should be doing at this period because of these social factors. Right now, looking at the years when we had a very, very strong currency, and when 1 naira was like a dollar, or 20 naira was like to a dollar, we look at it and we look at the why. So we realize that those were the years when we had the oil boom, when like we're having more dollar than needed in our economy. And unfortunately for us, we still do not know how to spend oil money. Even till now, we are still struggling with how to spend oil money, because if you look at the different countries that have been successful with oil money, you realize that their templates, the template for their sources with oil money, is entirely different from our templates. The years that we had oil boom in the 70s, where we were making a lot of extra dollars, where a lot of dollars were coming into our economy, we were not diversifying our economy. We just assumed that these dollars will keep coming like that. So instead of us to diversify our economy with those extra dollars that were coming, we were busy spending those dollars to strengthen our own naira. So we were more interested in a strong naira than in a strong economy. And now, don't worry, I'm going to read out some points to you here on the screen. So now, the naira was always stronger than the dollar. From the advent of the oil boom of 1973 up till the introduction of SAP in 1986, a dollar was sold for between 60 kobo and 80 kobo at various points. There was no magic to it. We were swimming in dollars. Let me be more accurate. We were drowning in dollars, petrodollars. The October 1973 attack on Egypt and Israel and Syria by Israel had led to the boycott of international oil markets by Arab countries in protest and solidarity. This caused a cut in production by over 5 million barrels per day. The shortage saw global oil prices tripled between October 1973 and March 1974. So this means that there was an oil crisis, and fortunately or unfortunately for us, that was when we came into the international scene with our own crude oil. So our crude oil boomed, and there was a lot of dollars that were coming into our economy, a lot of dollars that are like exceed the dollars that we needed. So what did our CBN did? They just pegged our naira that, okay, 1 naira should be $1. At least we have $20 million or $50 million that are coming in. We have enough dollar to back it, basically. So at the point when 1 naira was $1, it was not because we were producing. It was not because we were manufacturing. It was not because we were exporting any valuable products, maybe our agricultural product or anything. It was just because we had so much money coming from the oil industry. And this is one thing that is very important that a lot of us must realize. At the point when our naira was very strong, it was basically because we were making so much money and so much dollars from oil. Now, our refinery are not working, so we are exporting crude oil and we are earning dollars. From the dollars that we are earning, we are importing refined crude oil. We spend dollar to import it back. Now again, we are spending dollar to now back our naira again at the rate that we are fixing it, because our economy is not producing anything to actually warrant whatever rate that we are putting our naira in. So the CBN have to back whatever rate that naira is with dollars, the same dollar that we make from the oil that we are spending. Now we still have parastatals, all the federal government parastatals up and down that are still going to collect salary. We still have different infrastructural projects that the federal government want to do. They want to build road, they want to build bridge, they want to build train, they want to build this one, they want to do that one. Now if you now minus from the oil from the money we are making from our oil exports, if you minus the money that you are spent to import the fuel, if you minus the money that you are spending to back our naira, that our naira is at so rate to, we have to spend so amount of dollars to back it, you are going to realize, and then we minus all the different corruption that the different parastatals are actually doing, then we are going to realize that Nigeria is a broke country. We are broke. We don't have money. The assumption that we are rich as a country is because we are rich in terms of income, but in actual reality we are broke. And if you look at how the Nigerian economy and how the government are handling the Nigerian funds, is a direct replicate of how an average Nigerian also handles their personal finances and their personal economy. We are just naturally lavish in our lifestyle. That's just us as Nigerians. When there is a lot of dollars coming in from the oil exports, we were not planning for when these dollars are going to dry up. We're not planning that these dollars that are coming from a source that is unpredictable, a source that is beyond our control. We are not the one that sets the rate for oil globally. A lot of different global factors affect this. It can go up, it can come down, it can go this, it can go that. And the fact that we ourselves are even still importing this oil back in dollars is even like the biggest problem that we have, that have been trickling down from different years, different administration down till now. Alright, so let's look at this. The crude oil that was selling for $3 per barrel in 1973 was going for $12 per barrel by December 1974. While our oil earnings in 1970 amounted to just $200 million, we started averaging $4 billion per year from 1973 to 1978. The jump was intoxicating. Can you imagine? $200 million per annum to $4 billion per annum between 1973 to 1978. So we had enough dollar to say that our 50 kobo is $1, or 30 kobo is $1, or 1 naira to 1, because we were making so much money from oil. Just as simple as that. Now let's go further. Now that was the beginning of our problem. 1978 to never bomb me. Now, even though we thought we were having fun, Nigeria was hit by the Dutch disease, an economic concept that describes a situation where a glut of petrodollars leads to a strong local currency, which was exactly what happened to us, making imports cheaper and exports more expensive, and ultimately leading to deindustrialization. It became cheaper to import a bottle of water than to make it in Nigeria. Our exports became uncompetitive, and that's where that was the source of our problem. It started becoming cheaper and cheaper and cheaper for us to import everything, to import clothes, to import shoes, to import bags, to import furnitures, to import building materials. We were importing everything because we had a very strong local currency. So even if the country that was exporting to us, if it seems expensive in their own economy, to us it was cheap, because it was just like $1 is 1 naira. So if they are selling it for $2, it's just 2 naira in our own economy. We are fine to buy. And a lot of our local industries here that were producing those items at the higher operation costs could not meet up. So a lot of them were closing down because Nigerians will not buy, because it's cheaper to buy the imports. Now let's move on to this, because there's a lot of interesting with here. Now, after a fall in prices, in oil prices in 1978 to 1979 as a result of many developments, blah blah blah. Now the black gold was back on its feet in 1980. In 1980, Nigeria earned $22.4 billion that year alone, and exchange rate was 55 kobo to $1. Can you imagine? 1973 we just earned $4 billion, but 1980 we racked in $22.4 billion that year alone from oil earnings. So the dollars were coming, we were drowning in dollars. So it made sense that time for us to set any rate at all for our local currency, because we had enough dollar. We don't even know what to do with the dollar, basically. Instead of us to be busy diversifying our economy, preparing for a oil doom, and try to boost in our local industries, we were instead pegging our naira at so rates, making import very cheap and export very expensive, and we're not exporting anything apart from crude oil. So it was like we were on a time bomb, naturally. So it was a ticking bomb, and it was so apparent that at some point we are going to get into trouble. Now, listen to this. There's also this issue. Torrential revenue from a natural resource crowds out other sources, such as cocoa and groundnuts, and creates a harmful dependency on one source. This seriously distorts an economy where everything revolves around government. Oil went from 57.2% of our exports in 1970 to 92% in 1974, just within 4 years. Until this day, oil is still like the highest export that bring in dollars into our economy. If we were earning forex from multiple sources, the fall in oil prices will not have hit us that hard. Oil wealth encourages lazy, wasteful, and extravagant behaviors, from expanding the size of government to acquiring taste for foreign goods. In case you wonder why our governments and parastatals are very expensive to manage, it's because of oil wealth. When oil prices rise, we lose our heads. When they fall, we gnash our teeth. This is the story of our lives. Now, this just to show you that what you are experiencing in 2024 is a problem that have started since 1974. So, and that's why if we want to look at the problems that we are facing now, we need to start to ask a lot of why. A lot of whys will create like a lot of definition to the cause and effects and how we got here. Because if we want to get out of the mess that we are getting ourselves into, we need to know how we got into that mess in the first place, basically. Now, oil is our biggest export. That's certain. Our refineries are not working. So all the money that we are making, all the dollars that we are making from oil right now, is a certain percent of that dollar is going back directly to importing fuel back into our economy. Another percentage of that dollar that we make from the oil sale is going into backing our exchange rates, that our naira must be at so rates. Then another part of that dollar is now going into our federal parastatals, federal government agency, federal government whatever, federal government this one. Then before we now talk about even infrastructural development, we want to build road, want to build the airports, want to do this, want to do that. So you are going to realize that our finances is not okay, and as a country we are dead broke, despite all the potential that we have in this country. Now, naira is floated, which means that the Nigerian government does not need dollar to back the naira again, which releases some dollars. But again, we are still not refining our fuel and our crude oil locally, so which puts a lot of burden on how much the government is spending to import fuel. Because no matter how much you are selling our fuel, there is an oil boom and you are selling our crude oil at a high price, we are still going to spend a high price also to import the refined oil back into our economy. So it's a matter of make big money and spend big money, make small money and spend small money, particularly in terms of the fuel parts. Now, the Dangote refinery have been in the talks for a couple of years, and to be very frank, I don't see the Dangote refinery even like resolving our problem. Now, one of the reasons why a lot of private investors don't want to go into building refineries in Nigeria is because our oil have been subsidized. So which means that if a private investor invests in a refinery and based on operational cost and their investment, they have to sell fuel at like 500 naira per litre. Our governments are already subsidizing oil to us at 100 naira. So how will they sell? How will they be selling an economy where the government is already subsidizing at like almost less than 10% of what they want to sell? And that was one of the reasons why fuel subsidy removal was very, very essential, particularly if you want people to start investing in our local refineries, basically. All right, now, apart from the naira flotation, there have been a lot of other changes, particularly in terms of import duty and import rates. In the past maybe 6 years, the import duty have constantly been reviewed by different administration, and the goal of this administration is they want to put a crackdown on imports. They want we Nigerians to buy more of things that are locally made, even though we don't even have the industry to produce those things locally, or even if you have the industry to produce those things locally, they can't produce it enough to meet the local demand. And that's even one of the things that's happening to our cement. We are producing cement locally in Nigeria, yes, correct, but we are still even importing cement, because if you combine all the different cement plants that we have in Nigeria, they still can't meet up to our local demand. And neighboring countries are still even exporting cement from us. So which means that these companies, despite the fact that they are producing and manufacturing this cement in Nigeria, they still even have to export to other countries when they have not even been able to meet the Nigeria local market yet. So that's another dilemma. All right, now since we have talked about importation and how we got to where we are right now based on importation, a lot of the different Nigerian administration have been trying to implement different policies just to crack down on importation and promote locally made industries, locally made products. Now, look at this. Misery of Nigerian importers have continued to worsen as the Central Bank of Nigeria on Wednesday readjusted the customs exchange rate from 1,444 to 1,481 per dollar. Now, in case you don't know, the Nigerian customs charge import duty based on dollars. So they don't charge it based on naira, they charge it based on dollars. So if they tell you that your import duty is $10, they have their own rates. And funnily, based on my research, I realized that just 2 years ago, the Nigerian customs was using a rate of around like 365 or 361 for a dollar just 2 years ago. Now compare it to the rates as at today, which is like around 1,481 for a dollar. So which means that if your import duty maybe a year ago is like maybe $100, which is like around 30,000 something, if that same import duty is $100 today, that's like 140 something thousand naira. Basically, that's how much difference it is right now. So now look at this. Let me show you how these imports have been doing for a couple of years. So leadership reports that earlier in June 24, 2023, the CBN adjusted the exchange rate from 422.30 to 589 per dollar. And on July 6, 2023, it was adjusted to 770.88 per dollar. On November 14, 2023, it was adjusted to 783.174. That's just November last year. Then in December, it was 951.941. That's the exchange rate for imports, basically for import duty. Now that same, just between December when it was like 951.941, the exchange rate for imports right now is like 1,400 and something. Now we are still an import reliant country. The governments are constantly reviewing the import rates. Our exports, our local market here, our local industry here cannot still meet up to the local demand, and that's even if we even have an existing local industry, because the cost of doing business and the cost of operation in Nigeria is very, very high. So before you source for diesel or source for gas that is going to power the generator that you are going to be using to produce, Before we now talk about paying different taxes, paying different levies. So the cost of operation is very, very high. So which means that for a lot of exports, for a lot of locally made products here, the price compared to imported products would likely be higher. And even if the price of what we are producing locally here is cheaper, our demand will outgrow supply, which means that there will be more demand for that product. And as long as demand outgrows supply, is simple economics. The price of that commodity will go up. So either we like it or not, the price of things will continuously go up. Either we are importing it, it will go up. We are producing it locally, it will go up, because our local markets don't have enough products to meet enough product supply to meet up the demand that we have in locally. We are still struggling with rice, despite the fact that for like 4 or 5 years now, the federal government have banned importation of rice. Our locally made rice is still not yet up to demand that we have. The same thing for almost everything. Locally made electrical cables, locally made iron, locally made cement. The demand, we are a country of like over 200 million people. Our local demand alone is enough to sustain and thrive any sector that we have. But we've spent more than 30 or 20 years of our life relying and preferring imports. So it's now that we are even waking up to the reality that, man, import is not sustainable. We need to boost our industrialization. And as long as our power supply is still not yet 100% 24/7 stable and cheap, it will still be very, very expensive to produce things locally in our markets. So these are all the different factors that are like trickling in. This one is dropping its own, another one is dropping, exchange rate is dropping its own, import duty is dropping its own, the high demand is dropping its own, the low industrialization here in Nigeria is also dropping its own, and the opportunities are there. And fortunately or unfortunately, a lot of we Nigerians are not filling the gap. That's the truth. More businesses, more of the big industries, manufacturing industries and manufacturing plants that are being built right now and since the past 5 years are not Nigerian owned. They are not owned by Nigerians. They are either owned by Chinese, Lebanese, Indians. Particularly, they are mostly owned by Asians. They are the most people that are building and setting up factories and big manufacturing plants. While we are Nigerians, we are not even interested. Basically, we prefer to go into the service market, and the service market we still always need products, and we need to start boosting our local industries. That definitely is tough. Definitely, even we realtors that are in the service market is pretty tough for us. But these are just the realities on ground, and as long as these things are still happening, we are still going to be having cases where exchange rates will just soar, prices of things will just soar. It has a bit stabilized in the past like 2 weeks right now. Not like prices are still not changing, but not as crazy as the first week of February, not as crazy as the last week of January, and not as crazy as mid-February, when price of things were going like 20%, 30% per day. But now it has a bit flattened. But I don't expect it to flatten forever. I still feel like we are still going to be having cases and scenarios of different spikes of exchange rates, and the spike of exchange rate will be a spike of import duty, and the spike of import duty will also be a spike of all imported materials, and everything we are doing here are imported, particularly in the real estate industry. So we are going to have a secure video where we now talk about the impact of all these different spikes in the real estate market. How does it affect developers? How does it affect realtors? And how does it affect investors? How does it affect you that have bought land? How does it affect you that have bought houses? And most importantly, how does it affect you that have bought off-plan projects and off-plan properties? So I know you guys have a lot of reviews and a lot of comments about the different things that we have talked about in this video. Feel free to drop your comments. I would like to share perspective with you. A lot of you guys are economists. A lot of you guys are fantastic financial experts. So you can tell us your view, your perspective, and your understanding, and the different things that you have missed in this video. I'll also be open to that. And definitely watch out for part two. Part two of this series is coming, and how these inflation, how these changes, exchange rates have affected the real estate markets, the real estate industry, particularly the changes that we have between January to February. All right, so I still remain your number one property on the planet, your property advisor, property consultant, Rabi Mustafa. Thanks once again for watching our videos, and see you next time.